South fans, I thought I'd do an analysis of some of the positives out of last night's, emphatic 1-4 victory against the Altona Magic, which has seen us now move clearly into second place in National Premier Leagues of Victoria on 9 points, 1 point behind our, eternal rivals, the Melbourne Knights. Great to see two legendary, historic clubs of Australian football atop the National Premier Leagues of Victoria, the strongest football league in Australia, in my opinion, without question. Long may it continue. Hopefully it does continue. So obviously it was a very emphatic result last night. I just wanted, as mentioned early on, to go over the positives. I thought there were many aside from the scoreline. It was the first game where we scored more than one goal. We had a couple of goals as well from open play. We saw really, for me, and I think for many people who watched the game, whether it was in the stadium or on the stream, the display of, the full package of talent that comes with Marko Jankovic, in one match. He scored 2 goals, a header, sneaking in on the back post with a side foot effort, winning a penalty, and then also setting up a goal, with really great footwork to cut inside, lay it off to Daniel Clark, who tucked the ball nicely away for our fourth underneath the keeper. It was just an outstanding display from Marko Jankovic. I hark back to one of his video interviews before the season had started. He talked about, he tried to base his game on players like Nemanja Vidic, who, from my perspective, was a top defender, known to be strong in the challenge, to basically do anything to win the ball. You see that in his defensive style. He is a colossus out back, does not like to be beaten, will stick a foot in, will win everything in the air, will attack the ball aggressively. But then he also talked about, trying to take some pointers off Van Dijk. And you kind of do see, in the way Marko Jankovic moves, the fact that he's got really great distribution, and we saw how he set up the fourth goal for Daniel Clark. He's also got great feet. You see those elements of Virgil van Dijk, who's, brilliant on the ball as well, has that great passing range. Marko Jankovic showed all those sort of elements in that one game against Altona Magic. South fans, it was a joy for them to see, and I think it was, really deflating, obviously, for Altona Magic to see a central defensive player have such an impact on the game. Full credit to Marko Jankovic. He also defended stoutly, superbly, really, throughout yesterday's game. The South Melbourne defensive line, this is definitely one of the positives. We did concede yesterday. I know we have conceded, I think, a goal in 3 games. We haven't conceded more than a goal yet, and we have kept 2 clean sheets. Yesterday's goal was very, very unfortunate. Liram Almazi, of course, who had come in a screening/defensive midfield role in the place of Luke Pavlou. Basically, unfortunately, there was an erratic shot from outside the box. Everybody saw it, how Altona Magic opened the scoring. Liram just happened to be in the wrong position there. No one would have expected such an erratic shot. It hit him. It deflected wildly, caught Pierce Clark unawares, and that's how Altona Magic ultimately scored. They needed, it wasn't even a little bit of luck. It was a huge slice of luck. Other than that, there were some hairy moments, but once again, this South Melbourne defensive line, combined with Pierce Clark's goalkeeping, has been superb. And, whilst I talk about Marko Jankovic, I think another positive has been the growth of Jake Marshall. It's been amazing. Like, if you think about Jake Marshall, he's effectively kept Liram Almazi, who I think is one of the best defenders in Australian football, out of, the South Melbourne lineup. Obviously, he came in yesterday as a starter in a different position because, how can you drop Jake Marshall? He's playing like a lion. He keeps growing every game. He never loses a header. He's strong in the challenge. Some of his weak points, I think his main weak point would be his distribution. I think it's getting better. He never tries to play, outside of himself, and that would be, in my opinion, for him to start playing long balls. But, prior iterations of Jake Marshall in prior seasons, even, for example, maybe 10 to 15-yard balls occasionally, wouldn't be of the best quality. He's improved that distribution, and he's basically also become a wall. He's so hard to get past, and that's a huge positive. Long may he continue. I hope Jake Marshall just keeps on growing because, him and Jankovic are so dominant at the moment. And then when you combine, Obviously, Luke Adams, very, very experienced player, even though he's not even that old. I think he's maybe 26, 27, New Zealand international, along with Brad Norton. What a defensive quartet. Very, very hard to score against. And as mentioned previously, Pierce Clark, for me, one of these few goalkeepers who, from what I've seen so far, has everything. He's tall, he comes out on corners, he punches, he can gather, he's got clean hands, he's got great shot stopping, he's good with his feet, he can distribute with his hands, and he exudes calmness when, there's pressure. Because, there was still pressure. Altona Magic probably would have shaded the possession yesterday. I think South Melbourne is happy to give up, possession within reason. And that, for someone like me who lives every pass, every tackle, can sometimes be nerve-wracking. But, seeing the calmness of Pierce Clark in goals, it's been superb. It's something that I don't think we've had for many years. Such a strong defensive line combined with a very, very good goalkeeper who has strengths pretty much in all areas of a goalkeeper's game, is superb. And then obviously we've got Wallen in the middle of the park. We've also, we've had Luke Pavlu, we had Almarzi yesterday. It's also worth mentioning, a clear positive is that this team goes in very, very hard. This is, I've been saying to people, and I was saying it yesterday, that this is one of the more physical or I guess physically strong teams that South Melbourne has put out for a very, very long time. If we look at, the goalkeeper's quite large. We look at Yankovic, Marshall, Adams, even Brad Norton. He's not a small left back. He's actually gotten more and more muscular. We've got Harrison Sawyer up front. We had Liram Almarzi. Wallen is not going to shirk a challenge. And I would also say that even Jerry Salathos, he clearly used the COVID period to put on some more muscle. He's obviously still one of our smaller players, but he is stronger. And Daniel Clark's also, he's not a weak player. So, we've got 6 or 7 clear giants, some of the biggest players in the league. And then the other players in the team as well, it's difficult to intimidate them. And it was interesting to see yesterday, I can't remember a South Melbourne team that's winning a game so comfortably. And we gave away, two probably unnecessary yellow cards, I felt, from Luke Adams and Josh Wallen. Tough tackles. Some people might argue they were fortunate to stay on the park. To be winning so comfortably and comprehensively, and to tackle that hard, like that sort of level of aggression, you might even say fanaticism in the game, is just something I haven't seen in South Melbourne, in the National Premier Leagues of Victoria for a very, very long time. But in this league, in the National Premier Leagues of Victoria, in such a tight league, in a league that can get physical, when we know there are physical teams and physical teams who have been successful, it's very, very important. So I think it's actually going to hold us in good stead. Hopefully the players can find that right balance, of, okay, we're winning the game. We still want to impose ourselves on the game. Let's not do anything stupid, but let's still play hard. I'm sure the players will be able to figure it out. So, that was also another positive. The other positives, of course, were, seeing Jerry Salathos. He took a penalty. Hats off to the coaching staff or Harrison Sawyer. If it was his decision to give Jerry Salathos a penalty, put it away emphatically. Oldfield guessed the right way, but Salathos placed it so well into the corner and with power. He had absolutely no chance. Salathos also got the assist for the equaliser off a corner. Marko Jankovic obviously headed it past Oldfield. It was great to see him, have that sort of contribution. In the last 3 weeks or so, he probably hasn't hit top form, but he's contributing a lot more to the team. And the great thing about South Melbourne now is that it's not all on Jerry's back to create things for the team. We saw Henry Hoare. He got into another dangerous position in the box. Great cross across the 18-yard area. There was Marko Jankovic on the back post. He did something similar against Oakley. Against Oakley, obviously, he did skin his man. He still had to create space in yesterday's game against Altona Magic, but he's shown that if he gets in dangerous positions, Henry Hoare is going to hurt teams. And, that takes a lot of pressure off a player like Jerry Salathos. And then you've got Daniel Clark. Great to see him score. I think he's been one of our most improved players this season. Of course, he's a very, very seasoned player in the National Premier Leagues of Victoria. Also in other leagues around Australia, especially the NPL Queensland, was superb last year for Peninsula Power. I think he's been a revelation playing, in a more advanced role. Great to see him hurt the scoreboard, but he is a player that potentially could score 5-6 goals this year and also get 5 or 6 assists. They're the sort of figures, you might expect Jerry to get, but it's great to know that Jerry can get them. Daniel Clark has the capacity to get them. And then we also have Henry Hall, who has the capacity to get them. And then we also have a returning Marcus Schroen, who I hope can stay fit. It's great to see him on the park yesterday for approximately 15-20 minutes. He obviously came on when the match was pretty much won. So, many positives there. And I'd also like to single out Harrison Sawyer, because one thing that's been consistent this year is that Harrison Sawyer has worked himself into the ground every match he's played. He has scored 2 goals. He's been dangerous. But, hats off to the lad. He gives a great out ball all the time. I know we're probably over-rely on it, to be frank. We often bypass the midfield. Maybe that's a safe ploy. Try not to lose the ball in the middle of the park. I'd like to see us build that variation into our game, especially with Marcus Schroen. Maybe have some more confidence to occasionally mix it up, not always necessarily play around the perimeter, and rely on Harrison Sawyer, who wins, the majority of his contests. He takes the strongest defender, the strongest defender, and he still puts himself about, wins a lot of the contests, wins headers, has 2 or 3 chances a game, and just works himself into the ground, and that's a huge positive in this team as well this season. And then for example, we see Zachary Bates come off the bench, puts in a solid 15-20 minutes. I spoke to his mum, was fortunate to be sitting near her, because when he came on, I said, oh wow, Zach Bates looks like, he's stronger, like he's a bit larger than what I remember him. And she confirmed with me, she's like, he's been working out, he's been trying to build his strength. When you have players dedicating, their own time to improve their physical capacity, and then they come onto the park and put in a solid, 15-20 minute shift of working hard. I remember there was one moment where he had to chase back, stop the defender from crossing the ball, and basically, from memory, either kick the ball out or conceded a corner, but really put in, that 5 to 10 second massive effort to ensure the team didn't suffer. And that's the sort of ethos that we're currently seeing throughout the team. And I know it's very early days. It's only 5 rounds, and there's so much like improvement left in this team, which I think is lost upon many people. There's so many new players. They've played, collectively together 10, 11 games, and you would be hard pressed to, really justify that, because we have new players in the team as well, like Jankovic, Hall, who've only really started playing this season. So it's a new team, so much improvement left. From my perspective, so many positive signs, so many things that we can improve on and add to our game. But it looks like we're going to be competitive every match to our fans, and that's a huge bonus. And I think, we have to back the team, we have to back the coach, because we have a team at the moment that seems to be giving everything every game. They're grinding out points. They have the ability to get points. They're currently undefeated. We're going to Wednesday's match against Dandenong Thunder. Hopefully as many South fans can get to the game. I know it's on a Wednesday. It's not ideal, but let's get to the stadium, because if we get 3 points, South fans, we're going to consolidate a position in the top 2. We may even go first. And if that isn't something to celebrate about, if that's not worth getting behind the team, and starting to support them, at our highest capacity, I'm not sure what is. But, I'm confident the South fans, will get behind this team, because gradually we're seeing, wow, player for player, pretty much everybody in the first 11, there's players on the bench who are good. Players like Pavlou, for example, and Perry Lambropoulos are not making the squad. We've got so many positive things going for us this season. So let's try and consolidate on Wednesday. Every South fan that can make it, be there at Lakeside. Let's help the boys get a vital 3 points against Dandenong Thunder. Go South!